Welcome back to the Jones Equine YouTube channel. I am here with the third pattern class, which is trail, of the horse show hindsights from the Versatility Ranch Horse World Show that we went to back in June in Guthrie, Oklahoma. It was my little stallion's first time going to a world show, my first time going to a world show too. And I am going through the runs as I can recall them, all the emotions and things that went right and wrong in the runs, and sharing them with you on a blind reaction, watching the video situation, so that you guys can learn from my experiences in it, whether that's how to keep your emotions under control, what you need to do with your horse in the ring, what it's like to go to World Show, if you've never gone before, those sort of things. So let's get started with the pattern for this class.
So here we are starting with the Versatility Ranch Horse World Show Trail class. I love trail. It is so much fun. It is my absolute favorite class to do, and this pattern was a super fun pattern. Even though there was a couple little hiccups in this pattern when we executed it, this was probably one of my favorite trail patterns that I have ever done. So you can see here, looking at the pattern, you start on one side of the creek, you walk through the water, go into a pen of cows, go through a stump garden, they called it, weave through some trees and poles in the trees, lope around, go to the teepee, drag some stuff. And then my favorite part actually was at the end when you jumped over the logs, because I'm not a jumper and it was such a fun challenge for us to kind of do and experiment with. There was definitely a couple of hiccups there that I learned for next time. And let's get straight to the actual video of how this all went. So coming in through the water, I know it's kind of far away, but he did really great going through the water because we had practiced it like 10 million times. Then going into this little pen with the cows, I got lucky. All the cows were kind of pushed to one side because I was at the end of the draw, so the cows didn't want to go anywhere anyways. So it was really easy for me to just go in, do a cute little trot circle, wind right up at the gate. Those were all pretty relatively easy, and I was set up for success on those. Then coming into the stump garden, I'm going to pause this for just a second because there was a little bit of strategy going into this stump garden that you cannot see right here. I know that my horse is not very good at picking up his feet because he is so relaxed about everything. So there were a lot of people that were kind of upset because they didn't get to ride through this one little particular thing. And even on the ride through night, they closed this section of the course off so that it was a fresh ride through when you rode your pattern. Nobody got to practice this section, which I was actually really excited for because my horse, like I said before, is so chill about things. If I had practiced this ahead of time, he would have totally just ticked every log because he would have been so relaxed about it. So I needed a little bit of an element of surprise to keep him looking at things with that bright expression and picking up his feet. And I did not even go over and look at where the stumps were, except for that night that we were doing the ride through with the judges. And that was to keep things as fresh as possible so that I could have the brightest expression and have him pick up his feet and kind of work through that as blindly as I could, because I thought that was going to give us, me and Huck, the best chance at listening to each other and working through that obstacle with some expression and style. So know your horse when you go into these things, how they handle obstacles and that sort of thing. And sometimes the elements of surprise can give you a little bit of an edge. Okay, now put this back on. We'll see how this all turns out. He's good with gates. We ride over into the stump garden. I entered in on a log that like Huck had to really lift his legs to get over, which was great. Then there was this little section that you had to stop, quarter turn, back up. All of that was wonderful, and he did pretty good with. We had to kind of go slow on the back up because I didn't want him to hit anything and get any ticks after we did the walking over the poles with no ticks. Now, coming out of this, we had some options. It was written to go over the log in front of us, but they said you didn't have to. I probably should have not, because if you noticed right there, he broke into a lope instead of just trotting over it. Then going through the trees, it was all fun and games until coming out of the trees right there, where Huck decided to take the wrong lead, which has never been a problem for us. And we had to correct it. One of the judges did not dink us too hard, which was nice of them. But I did it so fast on the correction, it was hard to catch. So maybe that's why. Maybe they blinked when I did it. That's the luck of the draw that you get sometimes in horse shows. Then here, I had watched several people knock the trough on this log, so I was really trying to make sure that we were not going to drag it at an angle where it got hung up on that log. I decided to go at a trot around the log. I can't remember if the pattern says trot or walk, but typically if you add some speed, it's a degree of difficulty. Then when I flip around and back it into place, I had already been scoring low enough on all of my patterns that I was going for broke. So when you flip around and back it into place, that's harder than your average just put it back into place. So like I said, strategy-wise, I was going for broke there because I had nothing left to lose. Then, which was a little risky, but Huck did it, and it was great. Now, heading in, because he had just missed that lead, I wanted to make sure that he was going to take the correct lead here. So there was a lot of steps in setting up, but he did. He took the correct lead. Now, coming over these logs, he goes over the first one, switches leads right there, and then goes over the second one just fine. But as the pattern is written, he was supposed to stay in the right lead going over that log and be in the right lead jumping over the second log. That was one of the learning curves for me. I'm not a jumper. I've never been trained in how to jump. And when we went over that log, the first one, I was trying to straighten him up for the second one. When I straightened him, he thought I was asking for a lead change. And you saw, I mean, unless you were really looking for it, you don't even hardly know it happens because it was so smooth. But something for me that I learned in that instance is to make sure if you have those two jumps together that you have your line picked on the first jump so that you don't have to do any readjusting in between the two because it might cause a lead change. So there's my learning for the course. And then at the end of it, I was like pretty happy.
So I guess the big takeaway for this video and how this one went is know your horse, know yourself, and base your strategy off of those two things. If this was helpful to you in any way, if it was, you found it entertaining, if you found it inspiring, if you like videos like this, give me a like or a subscribe so that I know that these are the sort of things that you like to watch. Happy trails and have a great ride.